preserve and protect our brother Jake for the efforts that he's doing. So why did you, and everybody has asked me to, not everybody, quite a few people whispered in my ear to ask you this question, is like, why did you specifically went after Daniel Haqiqatjou and other influencers? But we'll go through the other ones later, but especially Daniel, why did you seem to you seem to be very offensive, not offensive meaning rude offensive, but offensive meaning going forward to approach him via social media? What triggered that?
So, trying to keep it, long story short, basically, I realized over time that he was not upon the correct aqidah and manhaj. I started to realize that he actually had deviant beliefs, that he did not actually understand the Quran and the Sunnah in the correct way. And when I realized that, I said, well, I have publicly associated myself with him, so now I need to publicly disassociate myself from him and make that very clear to my audience, to his audience, and anyone else who comes across these videos. And so that's what I've done. And I don't think so. I don't think I've taken cheap shots or misrepresented him. The most recent clip, which you just played, was regarding a debate which he had with two other Muslims. And I'm not here to support them or, criticize them or whatever. But he had a debate with two other Muslims about the beliefs of the Shia. And he was defending, and when I say defending, he was claiming that the beliefs of the Shia, so for those people who don't know, I mean, there are different groups within Shi'ism, okay? But the mainstream or the most popular group today are what are called the 12er Shia. And that's because they believe in 12 imams, or what they call imams, that came after the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, who they believe are rightly guided, who they believe we must give bay'ah to them, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so their religion is sort of founded upon following these 12 so-called rightly guided imams. Now, one of the common beliefs about these 12 imams today, which I was shocked that Daniel actually admitted this, okay, because it would have been more acceptable if he said, well, Jake, no, they actually don't really believe this, or only a small minority of them believe this. No, he openly admitted that they believe that the 12 imams are greater in status and in rank than all of the prophets except for the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This means that their 11th imam, they believe, is greater than the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam or Prophet Isa alayhi salam, right? I mean, this is such a preposterous belief to any Muslim that knows any of the basics about the religion. This is kufr. Why? Because from a principled perspective, any human being that is not a prophet cannot be greater than the status of a prophet. It's impossible. Okay, this is clear because why? The Quran speaks about the prophets. It says that he chose them, and I showed this as one of the parts of that video later on, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he there's some verses where he mentions all of the, or some of them, not all of them, but a great number of prophets in the Quran, okay? And then at the end, he says, and he chose them over the entire worlds, meaning that they are chosen directly by Allah, and they are greater in status than anyone else who is not a prophet, okay? That's why we follow them, because they are the recipients of wahi, of the revelation. They received revelation. That's why we follow them. Imagine someone coming after the time of the prophet and saying that they're better or greater than Prophet Jesus or Abraham. I mean, this is so ridiculous. It doesn't even make any sense. Now, I gave proofs and evidences, if anybody wants, in that video, because Daniel made the claim that no pre-modern scholar, no pre-modern Sunni scholar ever declared this belief to be kufr. I showed the exact opposite of that. I gave 4 different scholars. I gave Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. I gave Qadi Iyad. I gave several scholars, okay? And all of them unanimously said that this is kufr. And the person who believes it, if they do not repent, is to be executed. Okay? So this is clear. Now, Daniel Haqiqatjou is saying, oh no, Jake, this is a wrong belief. It's incorrect. It's even considered bid'ah and so on and so forth. But it's not kufr. It's not disbelief itself. And it is. And it's known by ijma. I quoted a scholar saying that it's known by ijma or consensus that this belief is kufr. So if you do not accept that this is a kufri belief, then there is a problem with your aqidah. This is a serious problem. Okay, so Daniel is going around. Why did I focus on him? Because he has a large platform. He's got hundreds of thousands of people following him, young, impressionable Muslim minds who he's going around and misleading and misguiding with this dangerous information. Now, some of your audience may be familiar with the so-called Qadianis, or they call themselves Ahmadiyya. Now, they believe in a so-called prophet. Of course, we believe he's a false prophet, okay, a Dajjal in a sense, who claimed to be a prophet, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, and they claim he was a prophet who came after the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And in virtue of that, we say any of them who believes this is a kafir. They cannot be a Muslim, because the Quran is very clear that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the seal of the prophets, right? He's the seal of the prophets. He's the last of the prophets to come. And we have various ahadith where he explicitly says that there will be no prophet after me. So in light of that, we say the Qadianis are not Muslims aslan, meaning from the root or foundation, from the beginning, they're not considered Muslims, because they reject something which is known very clearly in the Quran and Sunnah, and it's known by necessity that there cannot be a prophet after the Prophet Muhammad. Now, okay, so everybody understands that, and they say, yeah, Jake, we're on the same page with you. To accept the prophet after the Prophet Muhammad is clear-cut kufr. Okay, no problem. Now I'm saying what the 12er Shia do, who claim, and it's not all of them, but I would say today a large majority of them claim that their 12 imams are greater than all of the prophets. Now imagine that. If it's kufr to believe in a single prophet after the Prophet Muhammad, then by greater reason, it's kufr to believe in 12 people that came after the Prophet Muhammad who you say are better than prophets. I mean, come on. How could anybody not understand something so simple as this? And for Daniel, somebody who's intelligent, somebody who graduated from Harvard, I'm not going to say he's foolish in that sense or whatever. For somebody of his supposed stature and responsibility as a da'i, and someone who is communicating or supposed to be communicating the message of Islam to people, to say that this belief is not clear-cut kufr is misguidance. That is a deviant belief in and of itself, to say that this is not kufr. Okay, so I had to be very clear on this, and there are other things that he has mentioned and said and done that I refuted him on as well. But this is just the most recent example, and I feel that he had to be highlighted, and I had to speak out in such a way because unfortunately he has a lot of people following him, and I had to clarify to his audience that he is telling you guys the wrong information, and what he's saying is extremely dangerous. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to get on my back in terms of agreeing with my approach and the way that I convey things. I sometimes can be a little bit harsh, or with my presentation. It's partially due to my background, but I have to get better at that, inshallah. So people could disagree with that, but in terms of the information, it's clear cut. I gave the sources. I gave the text from the Quran, and then I gave the text from the scholars quoting ijma. I quoted Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah saying anyone who believes this, that a wali, or how we talk about the awliya, you can say they translate it as saints, or of Allah. I don't really like the terminology, but anyway, those who are really close to Allah in a strong way, let's say, to say that any non-prophet, Shaykh al-Islam says, is greater or even equal, forget about greater, but even equal in status to the prophets, This is kufr, and anyone who believes this, they are given a chance to repent. Shaykh al-Islam says they're given a chance to repent and retract their belief, and if they don't, they're to be executed. So because brother, I don't want to talk out of my own mouth and on my own mind. Like we should be going to the scholars. I'm not a scholar. People don't take from me. Take the information. If I'm quoting a scholar, then take from them and what they're saying. Because without that, and without quoting the dalil from the Quran and Sunnah, my words, or with all due respect to Brother Muhammad's words, and he would agree, is meaningless. If we don't have a dalil from the Quran and Sunnah, we don't have scholars that are reputable that came before us who are actually saying what we are calling towards, then we're on the wrong path. We know that we're going a wrong direction. So I didn't just talk out of my backside. I gave references from the scholars clearly stating this and declaring it to be ijma, that there's no difference of opinion on it. So yeah, that's a summary of it.
That's fantastic. I will go back to that because there's some pushback questions.